Medical affairs is a function within pharmaceutical companies which really has got a foundational role to ensuring that the pharma company has got the voice of the patient at the centre of everything that the pharma company does. My name is Gemma Pfister. I'm an executive with Vynamic in the London office and I am the London hub lead.
My name is Aaron Basra. I'm a director at Vynamic in the London office.
Today we're going to walk you through our approach to help a client based in Europe who needed to essentially transform their global and European medical affairs function. Medical affairs plays a critical role in key activities for pharma companies such as evidence generation, evidence dissemination, and very importantly, engagement with HCPs.
The client was the global head of medical affairs, and he approached us to support with identifying and defining the strategic priorities and vision for region Europe, which encapsulates the top 6 ex-US countries.
Vynamic knew this was a really important project to solve for our client because essentially, if they continued to work the way they were working, they would effectively be in silos. And as a result, the true strategic potential and impact of medical affairs would not be realised. The other angle is that they probably would not have had a sufficient seat at the table to get key investments from senior leadership around clinical trials, around added value EvGen activities, and also critically around input to major investments from the company supporting product launch.
Vynamic's approach was to complete a cross-functional and cross-geographical current state assessment, to then use that to define a desired future state and to formulate a strategic roadmap aligned to those priorities.
Our approach really was seeking first to understand about the culture of the organisation, the opportunity that there was for our client in transforming medical affairs, and engaging very openly and collaboratively with all stakeholders that we interacted with.
The immediate impact was a report that identified from the most tactical level to the top strategic level areas for medical affairs to be able to start to establish themselves as more of a strategic partner. At the more tactical level, we identified the need to define clear ways of working internally within medical affairs at the regional and global level, but also cross-functionally with market access, with R&D, and with corporate. At the highest level, also just the need for a cultural shift to educate and understand where medical affairs should sit at the table to inform some of the most strategic decisions that decide the direction of the company.
This certainly was a cultural shift within our client company in that probably for the first time there was real clarity as to who the medical affairs function was and why they mattered.
If you were to distill the impact into one sentence, it would be just like a realisation at the global level that the potential of medical affairs is not being tapped into.
I believe that this project really helped medical affairs in legitimising and rationalising their asks for investment. It was clear that our clients were really thrilled with the outcome of this project, not only on the clarity that our project provided and the direction and the recommendations that Vynamic delivered, but also on how fun it was working with us throughout the course of the project.
Yeah, we formulated a strategic roadmap that highlighted initiatives with short-term kind of impact to narrow-term focus all the way through to kind of 5 years and 10 years where they could be. And it's quite nice to actually work with the client and be requested by the client to begin to execute on some of those short-term initiatives. You can see that the client was fully bought in with the recommendations, and we were able to then start to play a part in the immediate execution of the project.
Essentially, the approach that we took and the impact that we created through the engagement could in fact apply to many different medical affairs functions, small, medium, large-sized pharma, and across different geographies.